Hi Excel and Mac users. In this video I'll show you how to split a cell diagonally. I'll show a couple examples. This one where we have split the cells in a couple cells and merged them. This gives you a little bit of flexibility in terms of the size, I guess ease of editing the text. The next one is this one where we're doing similar, but we're using a superscript and subscript functions of Excel. And this one is where we want to add some color to part of the split. So let's do the first one. Now the first one, what we're going to do is use 4 cells to kind of frame up our split. So I'll just do 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what we want to do here is pick the cell where we want to split. If we want to have the split go from top left to bottom right, we're going to select cells 1 and 4. If we want to do the opposite, we'll do 2 and 3 if we want to do from bottom left to top right. So I'm just going to do from top right to bottom, top left to bottom right. So I'll select this cell. Well, I'll select everything first, and I'll put a border around it. So we have a border around everything. Let's get rid of all the other grid. Well, we'll get rid of all the other grid lines later. And I'm just going to select this cell and this cell, 1 and 4. Press the Command button to multi-select non-contiguous cells, and go under Format, go to Cells, and we want to go to Border. Or I could have just selected this drop down and gotten to it. Let me show you how that gets done. Select this, go to More Borders, and it'll give you the same Format Cells window. What we want to do is select this line. So we've got our border there. I can select my line here, click OK, and now I've got my selection there. So I don't need the 1 and 4 anymore, so I can probably delete that. Right? So I have my other text here. Let's left align that, I'll right align that, and we'll call this something like, I'll just call this columns, and this will be our rows. So now I can probably start to put in my headers for my columns and my headers for my rows. I'll just make this really boring. Just put column 1, press return, and we can drag the fill handle. We've got 5 columns. Do the same for rows. Row 1, press enter, drag the fill handle, and increment it, right? Now you notice that my columns, they kind of don't align up correctly because I've selected 2 rows here for this column, and the same here. We've got 2 columns to kind of have to fit the text here. So what we need to do is we need to merge and center these. I can't do it all at once. I can't just click that all at once. It's not going to let you do that. But I can do it individually, and I don't have to do it each time. I can just click on that, press the Command button to multi-select, and select each of these 2 or pairs. Press Merge and Center. You can see it's merged it. All I need to do is just center that, and now these are all centered. Do the same thing for the rows. Select my row here, press the Command button, and select my row pairs here, or my row column pairs. Merge and center. And in this instance, let's see, I don't think I need to center that. Let's pull these out a little bit more. Make them a little bit, make the height a little bit bigger. Let's make this 25. Right, and so now you can see that's justified on the bottom. We will center that, and now all we need to do is just kind of add some formatting. We'll do some borders here, add borders here, and get rid of the grid lines. View, remove the grid lines. You can see now we've got our split cells here. So here's the first example, but you'll notice that there's this little tiny dot there that looks like there's just some space there, and that might not look pretty, but if this is okay with you, then you can use this step. So in this next example, what we're going to do is use the superscript and subscript functions. So what I can do is let's just put hi space, low. And I'm going to put in a diagonal line. Let's make this a diagonal. No, let's not do that one. Let's do this one. Click OK. And for my high, I'm going to make that at the bottom, the low at the top. High is going to be using the subscript. Going to Format, Cells, and that would be a subscript. Let's make this one maybe 36. Let's try 36. Click OK. And then for the low, we're going to go under Format, Cells. This is the superscript. Make that one bigger. This one is 36. Click OK. And let's see what we have. We can probably move this out a little bit and move this down. Let's see if we centered some things. How that worked. Okay, so that kind of worked out better here. So if I changed wording, let's call this rows and then call this columns. How would that work out? So you just need to move it a little bit more. Maybe give this one a little bit more space. Some spaces there. Let's see, a couple more spaces. Yeah, let's see. So you notice that, it takes a little bit of work to kind of finagle things around. I think I did need a space there. So that gives me my columns and my rows. Let's call this column 1, 4, 5, and then row 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll just give these all like a border, right? So I've got my columns, my rows. It's a little bit, you don't have that line break where we had that little break there. It looks a little bit more cleaner. So you can see that you just have to do a little bit adjusting to kind of make things look a little bit right. So that's kind of the two examples where we do it within one or more cells. Now, if we wanted to add some color, you notice that we can't really add color to just one part of it. If I clicked on that, you can't really do that. And if I tried to add color to this one, or maybe the top one, you can see it looks a little funky because it makes it a square. The other way we can do it to add color just to that triangle piece is to make a shape. So in this example, let's say I have let's say I'll just put rows here and let's increase this one, right? And we want to make that at the top, we can make this at the bottom so we have a line going down like that. I need to insert a triangle shape. So I go to Insert, Shapes, and insert that triangle shape. And if I want to draw it to fit onto the square, I need to press the command function, and it will fit that triangle into the square. If I didn't have that, if I didn't do that, if I clicked on the Insert and Shape, and I didn't click on the command function, I can draw it, but you see it doesn't click onto the grid lines. Once I press the command function, it kind of clicks to the grid line. If I start it within the cell, it would do it. Delete that. I want to flip this now because now it's covering that text there. So I selected my shape, go into Shape Format, and let's flip this. Let's see what we'll flip it horizontal. I think that's, no. And then vertical. Yes. All right. So now I can type some text in here. I type some text. Let's call this columns. And you notice that it types it upside down because we flipped our shape. And one way to get around that is to insert text in there. Let's delete this. So we can call this rows. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's make that text bigger so we can see it better. And we can just insert some text here. Insert a text we call this columns. And for this shape, we just won't give it any shape fill. No shape fill, no border, no outline. And do the same thing with the size. I think we had this one. We had this one at 18. Let's do this one at 18.2. Increase that. So now we have our colored portion of our diagonal split. You can change this to another color. Let's go to shape format. So there's a lot of more options that we can do with this. You can change it to maybe that's orange color, right? And now we can create our column. We'll call this column 1. Press return. Spread that out there. We have this row 1. Press return. Click the fill handle. Have that spread out there. And now we can have our borders. You could also make that a border, include that as the border. Right? And so now we have our split column, which has a fill of a different color. So it gives it a little bit more visual appeal, because now we can say, oh, those columns, those are orange. These rows, let's say we turn this into a kind of another color here, green, and we can turn that into green, right? So that makes it a little bit easier to align the text of our split and reference those columns and rows with the colors. So you can't really do that with these other options, but you can do it here where you add that shape there. So that's how we can create a diagonal split on our Excel sheet for some tables. So we have this example where we're using a couple cells to do that. This example where we're using the superscript and the subscript function, and here where we're using an image to give us a more colorful way to do that split. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.